Hello and welcome to another WriterlyWitterings, and today we have an absolutely delicious little fountain pen, the Conway Stewart 100. So first of all, what do you get in the package? And today, as I promised, I'm first going to look at this, which is the little package that comes with every Conway Stewart pen. And in here there are three goodies. The first goodie is a user instruction manual, which is obviously rather useful. It also goes through all the different collections. So limited editions, Duro, the Churchill collection, the Nelson, the Series 100, the Wellington, etc. Then it goes through how you fill each of the different pens and the different types of filling system they've got and all the other interesting stuff. How to look after and pay attention to your pen, for example. But this is the one for us today, the Series 100. Now, you also get two jet black inks, which is nice, and I have to say I've been impressed with the jet black. I don't go for black inks generally, but I've been really quite impressed with the quality of the blacks. But the last thing you get is a pen polishing cloth, which I've never had before, but this is a very useful item for polishing up any plastic or indeed silver pens. Works really well with all of them. So that is something you get with all Conway Stewart pens, apart from if you acquire an Indiana Jones. You don't get cartridges with that because it's a lever fill, so there's no earthly point giving you cartridges. No cartridge converter in the pen. Right, so what can we say about the 100? First created in 1954, it was reintroduced to celebrate the centenary in 2005. Okay. It is one of the all-time favourite designs, and it's appreciated for the classic lines, fine balance and easy writing. Right. I think that tells us all we need to know from the user guide. Stick that back in there and get it out of the way. So, here is your standard Conway Stewart box, which, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I really like, because you pull off the lid and it becomes a presentation box or something you can keep on your desk just because it looks pretty to keep your pen in it. There are many different acrylics you can get these in. This, I believe, is the sapphire blue, and I really love it. As you look at it, this really deep pattern of swirls in the resin changes with the light. It's almost, well, it's a very 3D effect. It's just gorgeous in the flesh. I'll try to hold it up a bit closer, see if that helps. You see how it comes alive as you get into that plane. And likewise this side too. It's just wonderful. As a basic design, let's have a look at it. I'll tell you what I really like about it and any niggles. So it's a very 1950s style. It's parallel sided, then curves in, parallel curves in. The top and the base have got a very shallow conical design, which looks and feels rather nice. The clip is a good solid one. It looks as though it's a standard Conway Stewart clip and it's been forced into place, so it's a little bit tighter than other Conway Stewarts, but that's that's all to the good. I like pens that don't fall out of my pocket because I've lost a lot of pens that way in the past that were cheaper. It's got the 3 bands here. This is the silver version, which I must admit I think goes exceedingly well with the blue. And what I will try to demonstrate here, I don't know if this is going to work, but you may just be able to see a little pattern there. That is hallmarks to prove it's genuine silver. They do the same with the gold versions. They're all hallmarked because these are valuable pens with valuable metals. Not much else to say about the cap, I don't think. It's got the Conway Stewart standard, and I think that the new Conway Stewart company is getting the clips made for themselves because they seem to be much more clearly designed. On the back end of the pen we've got another silver spacer there, so let's have a look inside. I just love the way that pattern swells up. So here we have one of Conway Stewart's larger nibs, which I'll talk about in a minute. The main barrel of the pen is not perfectly parallel between these two marks because it seems to slope in slightly down going towards the nib, and that is a beautiful feel. It really is. Slight flaring again like the Indiana Jones 58, so your fingers don't slide straight down, but it feels just perfect in the hand. This is a light pen. I'll put the actual dimensions at the bottom, but it's surprisingly comfortable for me because I really like heavier pens, but this is really surprisingly nice to hold. Now, as you can see here, it says Conway Stewart and then made in England, and it says Series 100 622/07. Now, I don't know if that means this is number 622 and it was made in 2007. If I get an answer back from Conway Stewart on that, I will let you know. What's the filling mechanism? Let's have a look. It comes with a cartridge converter, but for those of you who watch this regularly, you'll know that I had a lovely ink cartridge in which I had a stopper, and I took the stopper out and tried to load this cartridge into another pen, and it didn't fit because the stopper was so wide that the cartridge didn't fit on the feed well enough to be able to operate. I am delighted to say that with this pen it operates perfectly. I do like the way that shimmer just appears as you're writing. Right, now the nib. Two-tone, large size. When I say large size, I still have the Indiana Jones. It hasn't gone back yet, so let me just show you the two nibs side by side. The Indiana Jones, of course, is a rather smaller pen. It's much thinner, not dissimilar in terms of length, but you can see the difference in size of those two nibs. What's ironic is the Indiana Jones is a broad and the Series 100 is a fine. It doesn't seem quite right somehow for the size of the pens. Put that away again. So, first of all, aesthetics. What do I think about this? I absolutely, basically love it. I think it looks gorgeous. I really like that blue sapphire colouring. It's very appealing indeed. I like also the fact that it's silver. I've always had more of a preference towards silver and steel colours. As you'll notice, my watch is steel. So I love the look of it. I could do with a slightly heavier pen. It is very light, but the feel in your hand is superb. Will it post? Well, yes, it's a pen. It'll post. It does make it a little bit top heavy. So personally, again, as usual, I wouldn't post it. I'm much happier with it as a standard. But now I have spoken before about how much I really like the flag pens designed by Bespoke British Pens, who are now the owners of Conway Stewart and who make these wonderful things. This is not a flag nib. This is a Conway Stewart 18 karat gold nib. And it's one of the nicest nibs I've ever used in my life. I love my Visconti nibs. I really like the old Conway Stewart nibs, but this one is splendid. Let me just show you how it writes. Of course, the trouble is you start writing and then you think, hold on, what am I using in this pen? And what I am using is a Diamine Imperial Purple. There you go. It's good to keep these things to hand. Is there line variation? Let's see. Yes, there is. Not a huge amount, but there's a distinct variation there. Does it go reverse writing? Yes, it does. It is more scratchy, it's not as smooth, but it is a lovely feeling pen. Now, what I would say is, when I started this, it was very difficult to get any ink into the pen. If you find that, don't be alarmed. It's often the way that you get little bits of oil and grease from the manufacturing process stuck in the nib. So I took this to my sink. I used a very, very, very mild amount of detergent in a large pot of water and filled it and emptied it and filled it and emptied it a few times. That helped. And then I noticed that in transit the nib had got slightly bent round. Not bent as in the metal bent, but the whole nib was slightly unseated. So I seated that back in. If you ever have to do anything like that, by the way, don't ever use hot water. Use only cold water. The reason being that the feed on good quality pens will very often be made of a plastic that will be affected by heat. If you put it into hot water, you will deform that feed and that will destroy its ability to write, or it can destroy the ability to write. So only ever rinse and flush in cold water. But as I say, having flushed it through, I stuck the cartridge into it. It still didn't want to write, and so I just dabbed it underneath a running cold tap a little bit to fill all of this section with water, put it onto some blotting paper, and gradually the ink started to flow. So if you get a pen and it doesn't want to write immediately, do just rinse it through with a tiny amount of detergent, just in case there's some engine oil in there still, and then flush it enormously well before you put any ink in it. But overall impressions, what do I like about it? I love the silver. I think these silver bands go very well. I think the acrylic is just gorgeous, really, really nice. I love that nib. That nib is absolutely extraordinary. It's not... I don't know what it is about it. It just feels really smooth, soft and glorious when you put it on paper. Absolutely wonderful writing experience you get from this. I like the fact it's a cartridge converter. They are very convenient and useful. What do I dislike about it? I would prefer it to be just a little bit heavier. Only a tiny amount, just a little bit. But for me, it's the perfect size. It fits my hand nicely. I love the little flare at the bottom, which means that my fingers don't slide off. I think that the quality of the writing is really rather lovely. I certainly think this ink is gorgeous. It's Imperial Purple isn't one that I've used a huge amount, but I think that if you have a cartridge converter pen and you want to try different ideas, this is the Regal collection from Diamine. It contains 4 Royal Blue, Imperial Blue, Emerald, Monaco Red and Imperial Purple, and I just find it's a really nice, interesting mixture that's worth having in your pocket or to hand if you've got a pen like this. So I'll say one last thing. Okay, this is the absolutely gorgeous Model 100. A couple of weeks ago, as you know, I was playing with the Indiana Jones 58. I really, really like this 100. You will have seen, hopefully, a video I made some time ago where I was comparing a Churchill and the little Wordsworth. I loved that Wordsworth. I liked the Churchill, but the Wordsworth won me over 100%. This is not as tight. This 100 I really love. It's got a gorgeous feel and that nib is just wonderful. But I'm afraid the Indiana Jones slightly has it for me. I really like the size. It is so compact. It has been sitting in my shirt pocket every day since I made the review of this. And what makes it, for me, just so perfect is that filling mechanism. It is a little bit of a bugger when you want to rinse it out. It takes a lot of flushes to clean out the sack on the inside of this. However, I think that the looks of that in black are just classically beautiful. And the filling mechanism, well, as you know, when I have conducted my ink tests, I have tended to use this, a TWSBI Go, because the TWSBI Go is so quick and easy. You stick it in a bottle of ink, press the plunger, release it, do the back up again, and you're ready to write. It is a stunning, especially for the price, a really stunning, effective writing tool. But this is faster and easier. This is, to my mind, filling perfection. Doesn't mean it will replace all my Viscontis, but this is, I think, so far for me, my very favourite Conway Stewart pen that I've been testing for the last few months. And it's not because of the name Indiana Jones, and it's not because I wear a fedora all the time. It's just because it is so eminently practical. But if I was going for my first ever Conway Stewart and I didn't have my collection, this could well be the pen I would go for. Because as a pen to keep on your desk and to use, every day I took the cap off and looked at that nib, I would feel really happy. So there you go. So there you are. 2 rather delightful 1950s designs, one of which I find just so practical because of the filling mechanism, the other of which is just a beautiful, beautiful piece of workmanship. Hope that was interesting. Do please let me know if you've got any comments, put them down the bottom. If you want to support the channel, you can go to the Patreon link, and apart from that, like it, subscribe, share it, tell your friends and all that sort of stuff. And in the meantime, I am hoping to get some special papers before too long, some correspondence papers. So I'll be reviewing a bit more paper in the near future. I hope you like that as well. And for now, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.